The valet darted me a reassuring glance from his brown, eloquent eyes, yet a glance with so much queer superciliousness in it that it did not comfort me, and went bounding ahead of me on his bandy legs, softly chattering to himself. I held my head high and followed him, but for all my pride my heart was heavy. Milord had his eyrie high above the house, a small, stifling, darkened room. He keeps his shutters locked at noon. I was out of breath by the time we reached it, and returned to him the silence with which he greeted me. I will not smile. He cannot smile. In his rarely disturbed privacy the beast wears a garment of Ottoman design, a loose, dull purple gown with gold embroidery round the neck that falls from his shoulders to conceal his feet. The feet of the chair he sits in are handsomely clawed. He hides his hands in his ample sleeves. The artificial masterpiece of his face appalls me. A small fire in a small grate. A rushing wind rattles the shutters. The valet coughed. To him fell the delicate task of transmitting to me his master's wishes. My master, a stick fell in the grate. It made a mighty clatter in that dreadful silence. The valet started, lost his place in his speech, began again. My master has but one desire. The thick, rich, wild scent with which Milord had soaked himself the previous evening hangs all about us, ascends in cursive blue from the smoke of a precious Chinese pot. He wishes only— Now, in the face of my impassivity, the valet twittered, his ironic composure gone, for the desire of a master, however trivial, may yet sound unbearably insolent in the mouth of a servant, and his role of go-between clearly caused him a good deal of embarrassment. He gulped, he swallowed, at last contrived to unleash an unpunctuated flood. My master's sole desire is to see the pretty young lady unclothed, nude, without her dress, and that only for the one time, after which she will be returned to her father undamaged, with banker's orders for the sum which she has lost to my master at cards, and also a number of fine presents, such as furs, jewels, and horses. I remained standing. During this interview my eyes were level with those inside the mask, that now evaded mine, as if, to his credit, he was ashamed of his own request, even as his mouthpiece made it for him. Agitato, molto agitato. The valet wrung his white-gloved hands. Desnuda. I could scarcely believe my ears. I let out a raucous guffaw. No young lady laughs like that. My old nurse used to remonstrate, but I did, and do. At the clamour of my heartless mirth, the valet danced backwards with perturbation, palpitating his fingers as if attempting to wrench them off, expostulating, wordlessly pleading. I felt that I owed it to him to make my reply in as exquisite a Tuscan as I could muster. You may put me in a windowless room, sir, and I promise you I will pull up my skirt to my waist, ready for you, but there must be a sheet over my face to hide it, though the sheet must be laid over me so lightly that it will not choke me. So I shall be covered completely from the waist upwards, and no lights. There you can visit me once, sir, and only the once. After that I must be driven directly to the city, and give me money, and deposited in the public square in front of the church. If you wish to give me money, then I should be pleased to receive it, but I must stress that you should give me only the same amount of money that you would give to any other woman in such circumstances. However, if you choose not to give me a present, then that is your right. How pleased I was to see I struck the beast to the heart, for after a baker's dozen heartbeats, one single tear swelled, glittered at the corner of the masked eye. A tear, I hoped, of shame, The tear trembled for a moment on an edge of painted bone, then tumbled down the painted cheek to fall with an abrupt tinkle on the tiled floor. The valet, ticking and clucking to himself, hastily ushered me out of the room. A mauve cloud of his master's perfume billowed out into the chill corridor with us and dissipated. Been prepared for me, a veritable cell, windowless, airless, lightless, in the viscera of the palace. The valet lit a lamp for me, a narrow bed, a dark cupboard with fruit and flowers carved on it, bulked out of the gloom. I shall twist a noose out of my bed linen and hang myself with it, I said. Oh no, said the valet, fixing upon me wide and suddenly melancholy eyes. Oh no, you will not. You are a woman of honor. And what was he doing in my bedroom, this jigging caricature of a man? Was he to be my warder until I submitted to the beast's whim, or he to mine? Am I in such reduced circumstances that I may not have a lady's maid? As if in reply to my unspoken demand, the valet clapped his hands. To assuage your loneliness, madame. A knocking and clattering behind the door of the cupboard, the door swings open and out glides a soubrette from an operetta, with glossy nut-brown curls, rosy cheeks, blue rolling eyes. It takes me a moment to recognize her, in her little cap, her white stockings, her frilled petticoats. She carries a looking-glass in one hand and a powder-puff in the other, and there is a musical box where her heart should be. She tinkles as she rolls towards me on her tiny wheels. Nothing human lives here, said the valet. My maid halted, bowed. From a split seam at the side of her bodice protrudes the handle of a key. She is a marvellous machine, the most delicately balanced system of cords and pulleys in the world. We have dispensed with servants, the valet said. We surround ourselves instead, for utility and pleasure, with simulacra, and find it no less convenient than do most gentlemen. This clockwork twin of mine halted before me, her bowels churning out a settecento minuets, and offered me the bold carnation of her smile. Click, click, she raises her arm and busily dusts my cheeks with pink powdered chalk that makes me cough, then thrusts towards me her little mirror. I saw within it not my own face, but that of my father, as if I had put on his face when I arrived at the beast's palace as the discharge of his debt. What, you self-deluding fool, are you crying still? And drunk, too? He tossed back his grappa and hurled the tumbler away. Seeing my astonished fright, the valet took the mirror away from me, breathed on it, polished it with the ham of his gloved fist, handed it back to me. Now all I saw was myself, haggard from a sleepless night, pale enough to need my maid's supply of rouge. I heard the key turn in the heavy door and the valet's footsteps patter down the stone passage. Meanwhile my double continued to powder the air, emitting her jangling tune, but as it turned out she was not inexhaustible. Soon she was powdering more and yet more languorously. Her metal heart slowed in imitation of fatigue. Her musical box ran down until the notes separated themselves out of the tune and plopped like single raindrops, and, as if sleep had overtaken her, at last she moved no longer. As she succumbed to sleep, narrow bed as if felled. Time passed, but I do not know how much. Then the valet awoke me with rolls and honey. I gestured the tray away, but he set it down firmly beside the lamp, and took from it a little shagreen box, which he offered to me. I turned my head away. "Oh, my lady!" Such hurt cracked his high-pitched voice. He dexterously unfastened the gold clasp. On a bed of crimson velvet lay a single diamond earring, perfect as a tear. I snapped the box shut and tossed it into a corner. This sudden, sharp movement must have disturbed the mechanism of the doll. She jerked her arm almost as if to reprimand me, letting out a rippling fart of gavotte. Then was still again. "Very well," said the valet, put out, and indicated it was time for me to visit my host again. He did not let me wash or comb my hair. There was so little natural light in the interior of the palace that I could not tell whether it